postures. I'll give you variations all the way through. So if you you just start with the first variation and see if you want to move into a deeper variation. It's really going to be entirely up to you and how your body feels. So if you've been very active today and you feel you're particularly stiff, don't push yourself into something that doesn't feel comfortable. Okay, so we just start with spreading the feet wide onto the mat. So just lifting the toes up, just spread the feet wide. So you're trying to separate the toes out onto the mat and make yourself into a nice sturdy base. Grounding down through the four corners of the feet. Base of the big toe, base of the little toe, and just grounding down through the back of the heel. Start to draw and lengthen up through the legs. So as you draw and lengthen up through the legs, engage your quadriceps. So you're drawing the kneecaps up, then bringing the base of the pelvis down. So you're tucking the tailbone under and you're shortening the rib, the gap between the lower ribs and the pubic bone. Bring some awareness onto your pelvic floor and onto your lower abdomen. So you're drawing the navel in towards the spine. Just contracting the transverse abdominals, drawing up to the pelvic floor. So you're creating a core stability here. Just creating strength in the middle of the torso. Now lengthen through the spine, just observing the natural lotus. Just bringing the shoulders up towards the ears, and then you slide the shoulder blades down towards the waist and just open the palms up towards the front of your room. Perhaps just close your eyes here for a second. So as you're trying to balance the body weight out between the feet, keep the thighs activated. And bring some stillness to your mind. Start to focus in on your breath. The Ashtanga, you engage at Ujjayi breath, which is breathing in deeply through the nose. Take the air down the back of the throat, restricting the throat slightly, expanding the lungs. And then as you exhale, it's almost as like you're trying to thrust up glass, breathing back out of the nose. The breath should be slightly audible to yourself. Essentially like the sound of an ocean. Okay, so start with Surya Namaskara A. So blinking the eyes open. Inhale, leading with the little fingers. Allow the little fingers to meet over the head and then bring the palms to meet. As we exhale, we hinge all the way forward. So just let's gentle lower down to start with. Lift the sit bones up towards the sky. Draw the crown of the head down. Now as you inhale, gaze forward, take the hands onto the shins, push the tailbone back. As we exhale, we bend the knees, plant the hands down, and let's just step back and meet into a high plank with the core still nice and strong. Lowering the knees down to the mat, just keeping the toes tucked. So the inner elbows to face the short edge of the mat, and then draw the elbows into the side ribs, lowering the chest and chin. Rolling that forward, draw it either into a low cobra with the elbows bent, or perhaps you prefer to straighten out through the arms and rest onto the top of the feet. Retucking the toes now, let's draw the hips all the way up and back and move into a downward facing dog. Well, you're not going to observe the count particularly this evening. We're just going to use this downward facing dog, just have a little pedal out. So if you've done a lot of running or a lot of exercise, perhaps you can release some tension into the calf muscles by gently just pedaling the legs, bending one knee, bending the other. If you're carrying tension in the upper body, just really try to draw the chest towards the thighs. So you're creating this perfect V shape. Bringing your natural alignment to the spine. Try not to round through the thoracic spine, just trying to straighten out through the back. Now bending the knees, let's start to take the gaze forward. Let's step all the way up to the head of the mat and take a forward fold from here. Pushing out through both feet, draw the arms all the way up. And as you exhale, you release the hands and meet them into Samasthita here. Okay, inhaling, lengthen all the way up to the sky, leading with the little fingers. Exhaling, hinging that down. Inhaling, look up and lengthen. This time as we exhale, plant the hands down, make our way back to a high plank. So there's always the option to lower to knees if you need to, or keep the core strong. You're stacking the shoulders and elbows in one nice long straight line. Just working deeper into the shoulders now. Let's inhale, lift the spine up towards the sky, protracting the shoulders. Exhale, allow the chest just to drop down. The arms are still straight. Inhaling, pushing the spine up towards the sky. Exhaling, allowing the chest to drop. Inhale, raising that spine up. And this time as you exhale, we'll take a full chaturanga. So you draw the elbows into the side ribs, roll over the toes, draw it all the way into an up dog. And then exhale, release that back and meet that into a downward facing dog. So again, just have a little pedal out here. Just release any tension into the back of the legs. Perhaps a gentle sway side to side. Now bringing the gaze back forward. Let's bend the knees. Let's step all the way up to the head of the mat and take a fold. Pushing out through both feet. Let's draw that all the way up to standing. Exhaling, releasing the hands back to Samasthita here. Palms down by the side of your palms facing forward. Inhaling, lengthen, ground down through the feet, push out through the fingertips. Exhaling, hinging forward, drawing that hip bone towards the thigh. Inhaling, gazing forward, creating a nice flat spine. As we exhale, plant the hands down. There's an option now to jump back to chaturanga. Take the weight into the hands, engage the core, make your way all the way up to the back or down to the back of the mat. Step up or jump. Inhaling, drawing it in through an up dog. Let's exhale, release that back into a downward facing dog. Okay, separating the feet out, hip distance apart now. Draw up through the quadriceps, draw the kneecaps up the thighs, so engaging the front of the legs. Draw the thigh bones inside of the hip sockets and lift the hip bones up towards the sky. As you exhale, see if you can push the chest back towards the standing legs. Inhaling here. Exhaling, deepen the pose. Inhaling, gazing forward. Now let's bend the knees. Let's make our way all the way up to the head of the mat. Let's exhale, fold that down. Pressing out through both feet. Inhale, draw that all the way up to standing. Exhaling, releasing that back to Samasthita here. Okay, we're going to do two more, a little bit quicker. Inhale, sweeping the arms up. Exhaling, hinging forward. Inhale, look up, lengthen. Exhaling, making your way back to your chaturanga. So you can step, hop or jump. Inhale, draw that into an up dog. Let's exhale, release that back to a downward facing dog. Focusing in on the upper body. Just spreading the palms wide on the mat, spreading out through the fingers. Round down through the four corners of the hands. Draw the inner elbows to face each other, and then you're wrapping the triceps under. Create length into the spine. Inhale here. Exhale so you can deepen the pose. Now inhale, make your way all the way up to the head of the mat. Exhaling, take a fold. Inhale, join that all the way up. Exhaling, releasing back to Samasthita here. Okay, last one. Inhaling, lengthen. Exhaling, hinging forward. Inhale, gazing ahead. Let's exhale, make our way back to our chaturanga. So it's into your yoga press up. Elbows into the side ribs. Inhale, draw that into an up dog. Exhale, release back, downward facing dog. While you're in your downward facing dog, really use this opportunity to reconnect with your breath. Deepening and lengthening out through the inhalation, breathing in through the nose. And as we exhale, just see if you can move the body very slightly deeper into the pose. Let's take another deep breath in. Engaging the quadriceps, wrapping the triceps under. Exhaling. Inhaling, gazing forward. Now let's make our way up to the head of the mat. Exhale, folding down. Inhale, sweeping that all the way up to standing. Exhaling, releasing that back to heart center, releasing back now to Samsita here. Okay, Surya Namaskara B. So you bend the knees, rest the chest onto the thighs. Inhale, sweep the arms all the way up, push out through the fingertips. So you're meeting into Utkatasana or chair pose. As we exhale, we hinge that all the way forward, nice deep forward fold. Inhaling, look up and lengthen. As we exhale, we plant the hands down. We're going to make our way back to our chaturanga. Inhale, draw it into an up dog. Exhale, drawing that back into a downward facing dog. We're going to take the right foot forward. So you draw the right thigh into the chest, hover it forward and plant it at the head of the mat. Reducing the line of that left heel, pushing into both feet. Let's inhale, sweep that all the way up and meet that into our Virabhadrasana 1. So bend into that right thigh, back legs activated. Exhale, we're going to hinge the hands down, step back and meet into a high plank. Lower down to a chaturanga, draw it all the way into an up dog. Exhaling, releasing that back and meeting into a downward facing dog. The left foot now comes forward, the right foot turns. Let's inhale, sweep that all the way up into your warrior 1, squaring the hips forward, back leg activated. Exhaling, hinging down, step back, high plank, lower down through chaturanga. Inhale into an up dog. Let's exhale, release that back into a downward facing dog. So this is often classed as your resting posture. So really use it, as I say, to reconnect with the breath. Trying to keep length into each inhalation and length into each exhalation. See if you can gaze between the knees, or perhaps if there's nothing the matter with your neck, you can gaze towards the navel. Okay, let's inhale, gaze forward, make our way all the way up to the head of the mat so you can step, hop or jump. Exhaling, take a fold. Rebending the knees, let's raise the arms all the way up, back to our Utkatasana. Exhaling, releasing that back, Samsita here. Okay, let's do one more, Surya Namaskara B. Bending the knees, rest the chest onto the thighs. Inhale, sweep that all the way up, push out through the fingertips, tucking the tailbone under. Exhaling, hinging forward. Inhale, look up and lengthen. On the exhalation, you make your way all the way back to chaturanga. Step up or jump. Inhale, draw it into an up dog. Exhale, release that back, downward facing dog. So again, bringing the right foot forward, this is the head of the mat. The left foot goes to 45 degrees, left heel release down. Inhale, sweep that all the way up, making the legs strong, torso strong, push out through the fingertips. And then on the exhalation, you have to make your way all the way back to a chaturanga. Inhaling, drawing it into an up dog. Let's exhale, release that back into a downward facing dog. So this time taking the left foot forward, turning the right foot, pushing down through the feet. Let's inhale, sweep that all the way up into a warrior 1. Exhaling, hinging back. Let's step back all the way, chaturanga, lower down. Inhaling it into an up dog. Exhaling, releasing that back and meeting into a downward facing dog. Again, reconnect with the breath. Engage through the pelvic floor. Navel to spine, draw the tailbone up towards the sky. Draw the thigh bones inside of the hip sockets. Okay, now let's inhale, gaze forward, make your way up to the head of the mat. Again, you can step up or jump. And then exhale, fold that down. Rebending the knees, rest the chest onto the thighs. Let's inhale, sweep that all the way up, Utkatasana. Exhale, release back, Samsita here. Okay, perfect. So that's classed as the warm-up. So that's the warm-up done now. So now we move to Padangasthasana. Hands onto hips, release the feet out, hip distance apart. Inhaling, gazing up towards the ceiling, create some space. And as you exhale, draw the hip bone down towards the thigh bone and hinge that all the way forward. Releasing, perhaps you just grab alternate elbows if your hamstrings are tight, or perhaps you take the peace fingers around the big toe. So that's your first finger and your index finger and middle finger. round the big toes. Take the elbows out to the side. Draw the chest towards the thighs. So on the inhalation, you lift the sit bones up towards the sky. On the exhalation, you see if you can push out through the crown of the head and draw the chest towards the thighs. You just take a few breaths here, just deepening the pose as and when you feel that your hamstrings have allowed. That's it. Now slowly bringing the gaze forward, let's start to take a bend into the knees. We're all going to rest the chest onto the thighs, and then you release the whole palm of the hand underneath the sole of the feet. Padahastasana. Bring the toes towards the wrist creases. Get the body weight towards the middle of the foot. As you inhale, gaze forward. And as you exhale, we see if you can straighten out through the legs. Elbows out to the side. Shoulders away from the ears. Shoulder blades up towards the waist. You see if you can straighten out through the back of the knees and draw the cheeks in between the knees. So again, deepening the hamstring stretch here, just listen to your body. Helps if you try and bring the body weight towards the middle of the foot. Okay, inhaling now, gazing forward, we bend the knees. Let's release the hands from underneath the feet, place the hands back onto the hips on the exhale. And inhaling, drawing that all the way up to standing. Releasing the feet back and meeting at the head of your mat. Okay, so we step out of the right to Utthita Trikonasana. So right toes facing forward, the left foot at 45 degrees. Sweeping the arms up, arms facing down, arms at shoulder height. So as you hinge forward, you start to feel a stretch down the left side of your body. So you hinge all the way forward and then allow that right hand to drop down. So it might just drop down onto the shin, it might drop down towards the ankle. But try not to take it down too far because otherwise that left shoulder starts to roll in. So perhaps you can take it onto the shin, try not to rest onto the knee. Push out through the left fingertips. You're externally rotating the left hip out. So we're trying to imagine that we're between two panes of glass. We're in one nice long straight line. The left fingertips are tracking up towards the sky and that right hand is tracking down towards that right shin or ankle. Your drishti or your yoga gaze is towards the left fingers. And you imagine that somebody's got a broomstick tied to the left wrist and going all the way down to the right wrist. That's it, beautiful. Okay, let's push out through both feet. So you keep the legs activated, push out through both feet, draw that all the way up to standing. Keep the arms out at shoulder height, right toes come in, left toes turn out. Again, hinging forward. So hinge as far forward as your side waist will allow. And then drop that left hand down onto the left ankle or shin. Raise the right hand up towards the sky. So it's a massive stretch down the right side of the body. Externally rotating, rolling that right hip on top of the left. The right shoulder's on top of the left. And your drishti or your yoga gaze is towards those right fingers. Beautiful. Keep the legs activated. Inhale here. Exhale, see if you can lengthen out through the arms. Inhale, join that all the way up to standing. Exhaling, bringing the hands onto the hips. Okay, we're returning back to face that right foot. So the right foot's forward. Readjust the left foot to make sure it's at 45 degrees. Inhaling, sweeping the left arm up to the sky. So this is Utthita Trikonasana B or Evolved Triangle. You're going to bring that left hand down now, either onto the left, onto the right ankle or shin, or perhaps you bring it onto the outside edge of that right foot. Push down through the left hand and then lengthen up and draw up through the right hand. So you're now stacking your chest towards the side wall. You draw your right hip bone inside of the hip, right thigh bone inside of the hip. Roll the left hip forward. Both legs are straight, both legs are strong. And the back of the pelvis should be level. Okay, take a nice deep breath in. Stacking the chest towards the side wall on the exhalation. And on this inhalation, let's draw that all the way up, making the shape of an X. Exhaling, bringing the hands back onto the hips. So let's just swivel around to face that left foot. The Left foot forward, right foot at 45 degrees, moving the right arm up towards the sky. Inhale, creating space. As you exhale, right hand down onto the left ankle or shin, or on the outside edge of that left foot. Push down through the right hand, lengthen up through the left hand. Back the shoulders. Your drishti or your yoga gaze is towards that left hand. Pull the left thigh bone inside the hip, roll the right hip forward, stack the chest towards the side wall. Okay, pushing down through both feet. Let's inhale, draw that all the way up, shape of an X. Exhale, draw that back to the head of the mat, Samsita here. Perfect, okay. Complete Parsvakonasana, extended side angle. So you step out on the right, nice wide stance, long stance, start to bend through that right knee. So you've got the right thigh potentially parallel with the mat. So there's the option to take the right elbow onto that right side and release the left arm overhead as so. Or perhaps you take the full variation of the pose. You take the right hand on the outside edge of that right foot. Make sure the right knee is stacked over the right ankle, the right thigh is parallel with the mat, but you're still externally rotating that left hip. So again, we're still opening up through the side of the body. You roll that left arm all the way overhead with the palm facing down, taking the drishti or your yoga gaze underneath that left hand. You want to make sure that that left shoulder is not rolling in and obscuring your view. You've got one nice long straight line from the left fingertips to the outside edge of that left foot. Okay, pushing out through both feet. Let's draw that all the way up to the shape of an X. Turning the right toes in. Let's turn to face that left leg. So left toes facing forward. Start to bend through that left knee. Right leg still activated. Either left elbow onto the left thigh or left hand onto the outside edge of that left foot. Rolling the right arm all the way overhead now. Right palm facing down. Making sure that the right shoulder's not obscuring your view. You've just got you're rolling all the way from the outside edge of that right foot, roll down onto the mat, out through those right fingertips, one nice long straight line. Okay, let's push out through both feet. Let's draw that all the way up, shape for next, and then bring the hands onto the hips. Okay, turning to face the right leg, raise up onto the left toes. Let's slowly lower the left knee down to the mat. So it's much easier to get you into the revolved variation by starting with your knee onto the mat. So bring your hands into heart center, thumbs into the middle of the chest. We're going to take the left elbow over the right thigh and twist. So you're trying to get the chest beyond that right thigh. Thumbs into the middle of the chest, right elbow up. Perhaps you stay here, or perhaps you tuck the back toes and lift up through the back knee. Keep that back leg activated. Activate that left quad, push out through the left heel. And there's the option to stay here. Or for those of you working deeper into a pose, you release the left hand down onto the mat and it's on the outside edge of that right foot. And then you draw the right arm all the way overhead with the palm facing down. Gazing underneath that right hand. You feel like you're being twisted and contorted in every direction. As you draw the right hip back, roll the left hip forward, working deep into the body. Okay, so whichever variation you're in, we're going to draw and meet this all the way back to the shape of the neck. So releasing that right hand, drawing the left hand up. Let's draw that all the way up to standing. Perfect. Hands onto hips. Slightly harder, bring it slower into the practice. Let's start to lower that right knee to the mat and bring the hands into heart center. So thumbs into the middle of the chest, right knee down, left knee out in front of you. That's it, nice. Okay, let's bring the right elbow over the left thigh and twist. The thumbs are into the middle of the chest. Let's just see if we can tuck those back toes, lift up through the back knee. The right leg's tracking back, engaging the right quad. Gaze up towards the left elbow. Perhaps you stay here, so you're trying to stack your chest towards the side of your mat. Or perhaps you release the right hand down and draw the left arm up and over. So you're really drawing the chest towards the side of your mat, activating that right leg. Draw the left hip back, right hip rolls forward. Square the pelvis. And the drishti or the yoga gaze is underneath that left palm. Okay, let's draw this all the way back to standing. So roll that left arm back, push out through both feet. Let's draw that all the way up, shape the necks. Exhale, release that back seated. Perfect, okay. Prasrita Padottanasana. So wide left. You bring your legs out wide. Toes are in, heels are out. So your legs, in theory, should be a leg length of yours apart. So if your legs are too close together, it's harder to get your head onto the mat. If your legs are too far apart, it's harder to grip. The hands onto hips. Inhale, gaze up. As we exhale, hinge forward. So you take the tailbone to the back of the room, lengthen out through the spine. And releasing the hands down. You can keep the hands onto the hips if you prefer. Grab alternate elbows. Or you can bring the hands down towards the mat. If you're bringing the hands down towards the mat, try and bring the hands aligned with the feet. Inhale, gaze to the long edge of your mat. And as you exhale, take more body weight towards the middle of the foot. Draw the tailbone up towards the sky. And see if you can release the crown of the head down towards the mat. You join the thigh bones inside of the hips, lifting those sit bones up towards the ceiling. Exhaling, pushing out through the head. The legs are activated, the quads are activated. You're grounding down through the four corners of the feet. See if you can take more body weight into the middle of the foot rather than towards the heels. Okay, now inhaling, gazing forward. Let's exhale, push our hands back onto our hips. Inhale, pushing out through both legs, draw that all the way up to standing. Exhaling here. So hands onto hips still. Draw the shoulder blades towards each other. You're drawing the elbows back now. So making like little wings that stick out from your back. Inhale, gaze up. And as we exhale, keeping the hands on the hips, start to fold forward. So you're just relying on your legs now. The legs are activated. You're drawing the crown of the head down towards the mat. Shoulder blades roll in, open up through the front of the chest, and draw the elbows up towards the sky. Again, same description applies to the legs. You're rolling the hip bones into the thigh bones. Quadriceps are activated, body weight towards the middle of the foot. Now let's inhale, gazing forward, push out through both feet. Let's draw that all the way up to standing. And on the exhalation, release the hands down to the thighs. Inhaling, drawing the arms up towards the sky. Really exhale, release the hands behind the back and interlace the fingers. The palms don't need to touch. Inhale, gaze up. And as we exhale, we fold down. So we draw the arms all the way overhead, tailbone up towards the sky, lengthen out through the arms. See if you can roll the crown of the head down towards the mat, roll the arms over, you may move down to touch the floor, the other side of your mat. The legs are still activated, toes are in and heels are out. Okay, now using the weight of the arms on the next inhalation, push out through both feet, draw that all the way up to standing. Beautiful. Exhaling, releasing the hands onto the thighs. Okay, this final variation. Inhale, gaze up, expand the chest upwards. And as we exhale, you take the hands down the outside edges of the legs. So perhaps you grab the ankles, perhaps you take the peace fingers around the big toes. Gaze forward to the long edge of your mat. And then on your exhalation, take the elbows out to the side. Draw the crown of the head down towards the mat. Lift the sit bones up towards the ceiling. Drawing the shoulders away from the ears, the shoulder blades moving up towards the waist. Elbows out to the side. Thighs and quadriceps are activated. Legs are straight. And body weight towards the middle of the foot. Okay, inhaling, gazing forward. Exhale, release the hands onto the hips. Inhale, draw that all the way up to standing. Perfect. Exhale, release that back, head of the mat. You should be able to feel that on your inner thighs. Perfect. So you're just lengthening out through the inner thigh there. Also working deep into the front of the body. Okay, Parsvottanasana. So you can either grab or turn the elbows, or you can bring the hands into reverse prayer. So if you're bringing the hands into reverse prayer, you're shimmying the little fingers up the back. Okay, we're going to turn on the right foot, on the left foot, and bring the right foot forward. So the right toes are tracking forward, the left toes are at 45 degrees. Square the pelvis to the short edge of the mat. Inhale, gaze up. And as we exhale, draw the right thigh bone inside of the hip socket as you start to fold forward over that right leg. So see if you can take a little bit more of the body weight into the right foot than the left. Both legs are straight. The stance isn't too long. It's like a mixed stance, it's not as long as the wide leg we've just done. Pull the left hip forward, pull the right hip back. You're trying to level the pelvis. Taking a deep breath here. Exhaling, you're drawing the chin towards the shin. Inhale, join that all the way up to standing. Keep the legs where they are. And let's just swizzle the feet round so we turn into face the left foot. So either swap legs or swizzle round. So the left foot's now forward, right foot 45 degrees. Inhaling, gazing up towards the ceiling. And exhale, fold down. So if you start to feel it in your hamstrings here, then just stop here. Keep both legs straight. It's a very deep hamstring stretch onto the left leg. You're gradually hinging forward, so you're lifting the tailbones up towards the ceiling, drawing that left thigh bone inside the hip socket, and drawing your chest towards the left thigh. Right hip rolls forward, so you're squaring the pelvis to the short edge of the mat. And there's probably more of your body weight into the left foot than the right. If you're into reverse prayer, just shimmy the little fingers up in between the shoulder blades, and open up through the front of the chest, and allow the chest to roll down towards that left thigh. Okay, pushing out through both feet. Let's inhale, draw that all the way up to standing. Exhale, release the arms and draw the hands back into Sansiti. Okay, now standing postures. I normally put them all in together. So the standing postures, there's quite a few of the balance postures. So the first variation is, the options here are either knee into hip, out to the side, back to center, then lengthen that leg away. Or we can take the full pose, left foot down, you take the peace fingers around that big toe, lengthen the right leg away, take it out to the side, bring it back, and then out to center. Okay, so let's all hope that we can keep our balance. The secret is not to look at anything else, just to focus in, where you really take your focus inwards. Don't be distracted by anything in the room, don't be distracted by the music, don't be distracted by me. Just listen to your breath, listen to your own, you need to clear your mind, basically, and not be distracted by anything. So grounding down through the left foot. Bring your hands onto your hips. So perhaps you work here, or if you're wanting to work deep into the posture, you take the peace fingers around the big toes, straighten the right leg away, push the right heel, and draw the right thigh bone inside the hip. If you find it too strong, just see if you can lift the right knee. Align the right knee with the hip, the legs bent. Take the variation that suits you. Okay, well now we're going to take that right leg out to the side. So slowly start to externally rotate, take that hip, draw the right leg out to the side, still pushing out through the heel, or the right knee might still be bent. Keep strengthening that standing leg. Now slowly bringing that right leg back to center. We're all going to release the hands onto the hips. See if you can all straighten out through that right leg and make it, draw it up as high as possible. Keep the standing leg strong. Draw in through the pelvic floor. Roll the shoulder blades down the back. And slowly rebending the right leg. Let's meet that down onto the mat. And let's just have a little shake out of the legs. Perfect. Okay, let's take that to the left. So again, option to bring the knee in, knee out to the side, knee back, then straighten out, or you can take the full variation. Grounding down through the right foot. Let's raise that left leg up. Either left knee bent, or keep fingers round the big toes, see if you can straighten out through that left leg. Standing nice and tall. Using something that doesn't move, standing leg strong. Okay, externally rotating from that left hip. Let's start to draw that out to the side. If your balance is good, perhaps you gaze over the right shoulder. Keep the torso central. Keep the core activated. Now let's slowly start to bring that back to center. So for those of you with a bent leg, let's all bring the hands back onto the hips and straighten out through that left leg now. Trying to make the left leg parallel with the mat. Standing leg strong. Focus in on your breath. Nice deep inhalation, drawing the shoulder blades down the back. Exhaling, releasing that left leg down to the mat and give the legs a shake. Okay, so the last balance posture is Ardha Baddha Paschimottanasana. However, it's a half-bound lotus, so I think it's probably a step too far on a Sunday evening. So we're going to work with tree. So grounding down through the left foot. The option is just to bring the right heel in towards the right ankle, right foot onto the right calf, right inner thigh, or perhaps you can play around with half lotus if you're working deeper into the practice. Just take the variation that suits you. Make sure you're not resting that right foot onto the right knee joint. Bring the hands into heart center. Ground down through that left foot. Again, focusing on something that doesn't move. Perhaps we inhale, sweep the arms up to the sky. Exhaling, releasing the hands out. Creating your tree. Inhaling, drawing that back to center. Exhaling, releasing back to heart center. Let's see if we can release that right leg all the way down with grace. That's it, very nice. Excellent balance. Okay, let's take that to the left. So again, either into the left ankle, calf or shin, the calf shin, or onto the thigh. Try not to rest onto the knee. Perhaps you bring it into half lotus. This is where you regret wearing the shiny leggings. Bring the hands into heart center. Activating that right leg, the core and pelvic floor activated. Beautiful. Let's inhale, sweep the arms up. Rounding down through that left foot. Exhaling, releasing the hands out. Keeping the gaze steady. Inhaling, drawing the hands back to center. Exhaling, heart center. Let's see if we can release that left leg down with grace. Perfect. Bringing the legs down. Perhaps give yourself a little shake. Perhaps a little shake out through the hips. Whatever variation you need to take. Okay, moving back to our Utkatasana chair. Inhaling, sweeping the arms all the way up. Exhaling, hinging forward. Inhaling, look up and lengthen. As we exhale, plant the hands down. Let's make our way back to a chaturanga. Inhaling, drawing through an up dog. Exhaling, releasing that back and meeting into a downward facing dog. So really spread the hands wide onto the mat. Spread out through the fingers. Making a firm base with the hands. Inhale, gaze forward. And let's jump to the head of the mat. So see if you can take the weight into your hands and you jump all the way forward. Toes, heels, ankles, all land together, knees together. Make your leg as one. Resting the chest onto the thighs. Tuck the tailbone under as you sweep the arms all the way up to the sky. So you're meeting into Utkatasana. Push out through the fingertips, gaze between the palms. Perhaps the palms are separated or the palms touch to see how you feel into your shoulders. So draw the tailbone under, draw the pubic bone toward the lower ribs, engage the core. Suck in through the lower belly, engage the pelvic floor. Inhaling here, push out through the fingertips. Exhale, see if you can sink down lower. Just take a gaze down, make sure that you can still see your toes. Inhaling. And then exhaling, releasing that back to a forward fold. Inhale, look up and lengthen. Exhaling, make your way back to a chaturanga. Inhale, draw into an up dog. Exhaling, releasing that back and meeting into a downward facing dog. So now we're finishing with our Virabhadrasana, warriors. Drawing the right leg forward, plant it at the head of the mat. Release and align the left heel. So the left foot's at 45 degrees, square the pelvis to the short edge of your mat. Draw the hands behind you, rest the chest onto the thighs, sink down into that right thigh. Let's sweep the torso up, leaving the legs where they are, knee into our Virabhadrasana 1. So gazing up towards the ceiling, perhaps you even gaze between the palms. That's taking a slight back bend. And make sure that that right leg's not rolled back with you. You're still bending through the right thigh and the back leg's activated. Right hip draws back into the right thigh bone, into the hip socket, left hip rolls forward. Okay, keeping the gaze up if you can. And straighten out through the right leg, turn the right toes in, and let's turn to face the left leg. So you're just swapping around, same pose, different leg. Bend through that left thigh. Just externally rotate from that left hip, so you're making sure that that left knee's not rolling inwards. The back leg's activated. Outside edge of that back foot's onto the mat, the shoulders away from the ears, shoulder blades tracking down towards the waist. Gaze still up towards the ceiling. Okay, from here we move it into a warrior 2. So the left hand comes forward, the right hand comes back, and we move that into our warrior 2. Palms facing down, left thigh parallel with the mat. See if you can sink down a little deeper and the torso central. Make sure you're not leaning forward or drawing the torso back. Your spine is aligned. And your drishti or your yoga gaze is over those left fingers. Okay, let's take this to the other side. So you start to straighten out through the left leg, turn the left toes in, and then just turn to face the right leg. So bending through the right leg. Draw that right thigh bone out. Make sure you can gaze down and see those right toes. The palms are still down. Perhaps you gaze towards the back arm and make sure the back arms are aligned with the front and the spine is aligned and the torso is central. Let's sink down a little further. Then rolling that left arm all the way overhead now. Let's just plant the hands down onto the mat. Let's step that back into a high plank. Lower down to Chaturanga. Inhale, draw it into an up dog. Very last vinyasa. Exhale, draw that back and knee into a downward facing dog. So now's your opportunity. If you feel you've got tension anywhere, just have a little pedal out. Just release anything. You're at home now, nobody can see you. Just have a little wiggle around. And we're going to bring this down to seated. So traditionally, jump through to seated. You inhale, gaze forward. Exhale, make your way through to seated. Allow the bottom down to the mat. That's perfect. Okay, we managed it. 3/4 of an hour. Well done, everybody. Okay, so let's just have a little stretch out here. Just grabbing behind the thighs. Just start to lower the body all the way down the mat. Just bring the knees into the chest. So taking the right knee into the right hand and the left knee into the left hand. Let's start to roll the hips out. So you're going to roll the hips, knees out to mat width apart. And then make some big circles. And as you make the circles with the hips, just mobilizing through the hip joints or releasing tension. Just push the lumbar spine down into the mat. And just see if you can release tension into the back. Perhaps you roll them around one way and then roll them back the other. And releasing the soles of the feet up towards the ceiling. Let's just take a happy baby. So we release tension in the lower spine. So perhaps you just rest the arms onto the backs of the thighs. Perhaps you bring the hands onto the ankles, or perhaps you bring the hands onto the top of the feet. Just make sure the base of the pelvis is engaged down onto the mat. So you're really trying to breathe out through the lower back. So if the lower back's lifted off the mat, this becomes a different pose. Just make sure the back of the pelvis is down, the knees just track the outside edge of the shoulders, and you just have a gentle rock side to side. Just release any tension here. And gently releasing the arms. Let's just cactus the arms out to the side. Bring the knees back to meet. And then allow the knees just to drop over towards the left and just gaze backwards over that right shoulder. So you just take a gentle twist into the spine. Ease the right shoulder blade down towards the mat. You might just be releasing some tension at the front of that right shoulder. Again, keeping the arms now cactus, let's start to draw the knees back into the chest. And then just roll the legs over towards the right and just gaze over the left shoulder. So gently bringing the knees back to center now. Let's just draw and hug the knees in tight. Again, if you need to take any movement into the spine, perhaps make a little rock side to side or just a figure of 8. And then let's release the knees, the legs out. So you're releasing the feet out mat width apart. In an Ashtanga, it's just take rest at the end. You allow your body just to relax down towards the mat. This is a time where you're just starting from the toes, allow the toes, ankles and knees just to roll out to the side. So you start to release tension into the hips straight away. You're allowing the pelvis just to open, the back of the pelvis and the weight of the spine, the weight of the shoulder girdle and the head just to be taken by the mat. Having the palms facing up. So just trying to bring the mind to stillness. Just allow the practice, allow the energy that you've created. Just connect with the energy. Just only bring your awareness onto the sensations within the body. Perhaps you feel a tingling. Perhaps you feel some heat or positive energy. Okay, so let's just slowly start to make some circles with the ankles. Just gradually rolling out. Stretch out through the fingers. Gently walking the legs back towards each other. Let's just raise the arms overhead. Stretch out through the fingertips. Stretch out through the feet. Just lengthen the whole body. Gradually re-engaging the feet onto the mat. Let's just push the lower spine down as we release the feet up towards the bottom. And bring the arms in. And again, wrapping your arms around the legs. Just give yourself a big hug. Gently rocking side to side. Let's eventually start to rock over towards the right. Slowly out to your top hand. Let's start to draw that all the way up to Sita. So just bring your hands into heart center. But always give yourself gratitude for your practice. You made time tonight to spend on the mat, just to develop your practice. Work deeply into your body, mind, and breath. Despite in everything your body's achieved, and everything else is work in progress. Thank you very much for letting me guide you. Namaste. Thank you very much, everybody. How are you all feeling?
Thank you, that was brilliant, thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Fantastic, thanks Claire.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks,
Really
Claire.
relaxing, thanks.
Oh, nice to see you all.
Thank you, Claire.
Yeah, see you next week, hopefully.
Yeah, see you next week. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye Claire, see you later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. See
Bye.
you next Monday.